In three, two. Hey, best
Yes,
friends.
friends, welcome back.
Welcome back. We
We are
just got back from our
Oh my god, it
cruise.
was the most incredible
Oh my
cruise.
goodness. It was,
So relaxing. Maybe we'll talk about that on the next episode. We've got just interviews after
yeah.
interviews because people keep wanting to share their story, and we are not going to tell anybody no,
And
honestly.
we encourage you, if you have been listening and you want to become a part of this podcast, you want to be a guest,
Yes,
please email us, contact us on any socials. We are willing to listen to your story and help you put your story out however you choose.
absolutely. So today we have our friend Tasha. So Tasha, go ahead and just give a little bit introduction about yourself.
All right. Hello. Thank you so much for having me. um, all right. I am Tasha DeBlaker, aka Teeny Tiny Tasha. I am 37 years old. I am born and raised in Florida, raising my kids here. I have three kids, two on earth, one in heaven.
Okay.
My two on earth, I have an 18-year-old, a 13-year-old,
You don't look
and
old enough for that, by the way.
Yeah.
thank
See,
you.
if you don't see it on video and maybe you're just listening, Teeny Tiny Tasha is a real thing. Like she looks
She is
like I could
teeny.
pick her up and put her right in my pocket. And she's such a mm, she's an experience to be around because you are.
Experience.
We've said it before we started this podcast. You also have ADHD like I do. So there's a lot of things that kind of just it's fun. I love being around you, and you are a an
Contagious
aura,
spirit.
yeah, a
Yeah.
contagious spirit. I love that.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, because I hid that away for many, many years. It was actually 2024 when I really just decided I am going to embrace this crazy spirit that I am.
Yeah.
And we went to our annual convention because I'm also with Ariel,
Yep.
Mhm.
and the CEO's son-in-law was standing next to me, and he said to me, he's like, I hope you don't mind me saying this, but you've actually like come out of your shell a whole lot this year. And I was like, oh, well, that's cool. Like,
Yes.
it was awesome somebody saw me in that moment, because I really was like off to the sidelines so much before,
Yeah.
and in a way, and my full self to the forefront. I was doing a
Yeah.
lot of healing.
That's a
I
great
love
I
that,
love that.
and that there's something to say there that if you have something to if you think something about someone and it's
Say it.
positive,
Yeah.
please, for the love of God, say
You
it.
never know. Like
Change
Tasha didn't know anybody noticed that
Yes.
she's having a glow up, but like we see it. We've seen it. I've
Yes.
I've watched you for years. Like, so I get it. I'm glad he said that because you're right. We all need to hear it once in a while.
It's one of the interesting things you said in the prep up to this, you, Tasha, is that the name Teeny Tiny Tasha
Yes.
is not what you think it is.
Yeah,
And
I
I
want to
want to
hear.
know that. I want to kind of dig into that. So if you would kind of, if you want to start your story that way with how that is different from what we would assume.
Okay, so everybody hears Teeny Tiny Tasha. They just think it's a moniker because I'm so short. And while that is true and it's very fitting, it actually came about in a way that one of my very, very good friends, her name's Crystal. She's actually the one that introduced me to this company. She was coming, we lived in the same city, so she would come by to see me just, every so many weeks, or maybe like once a month. It really wasn't that often we saw each other. And every single time she came to see me, I was just getting smaller
Mm,
and smaller and smaller because I was not taking care of myself. I was not
mm,
eating. I was smoking so many cigarettes that
mm.
I was just destroying myself from the inside out. And I'm not really sure why that was my reaction to my dad passing away, because my dad passed away. He suddenly passed away in a supermarket, like had a heart attack on the
Oh,
walk out to his
Oh,
car.
wow.
Was like, I can't breathe and struggling to
Oh,
breathe. And they called the ambulance, and there was just no saving him. And from that moment, like my whole world just whoop, because I totally expected to have my dad around for a while. I didn't
yeah.
realize he had such severe health issues going on. We live states
Mm,
apart, but we talked every single day. So for him not to be there every single day, I just switched to coping in the most unhealthiest way. I would make food for my family and just kind of play with the food. I would just push it around with my fork.
Yeah.
I just really was in the most unhealthy place. But it's so funny because I love this, I'm gonna bring it up because when I share photos like from that time where I was just withering away, I get compliments like, you
Oh,
look
Mm.
so
oh
good
gosh.
and you look great. And I'm like, if you guys only knew, like
Skinny
I
doesn't mean
was
healthy.
right, literally dying inside. My
Mm,
daughter was actually the one to point out to me, like my nail beds
Mhm.
were the color was changing. So
mm,
obviously something on a cellular level was going. And I mean, she was like
mm.
9 at this time, 10, but TikTok
Wow.
videos, YouTube videos
Yeah.
about nails. She was really into nails.
That's
And
really
she was like,
interesting. I
well,
don't think I knew that little
No.
fact.
your nail beds can tell a lot about your health. So
Wow.
it was
Mine
kind of
suck.
her. She really made me, like, in retrospect, be like, well, something really might be going on here. But
Yeah.
my friend Crystal started that off because she was like, you are getting teeny tiny, Tasha. And I was like, oh, that's my name. That's it.
Ah,
That's going to be my personality now. I'm taking it. I'm running, because I was just so mentally not okay in that
yeah.
time. Like, it was
Yeah.
just a whirlwind. And I had started Ariel. My dad passed away September 1st, 2020.
Okay.
And Ariel came about just a few months after
Yep.
that. So
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
September,
was
right?
Yeah.
not in
Like
the
literally
right
2 months
place.
after.
I just didn't really know what I was getting into. I just full faith jumped in. Such a squirrel moment, and I hate doing this. I'm so sorry. I'm so
That's okay.
squirrely, but I'm not one to just full faith jump into things. Like, I'm very green. I want to know
Okay.
everything about everything, and
So
I
if
will.
you are, I'm gonna
Yeah.
pause you.
Good.
If you don't know what
Yes.
she's talking about when she says I'm very green, we go by color personalities a lot in our company to help kind of talk to people and have
Yeah.
conversations. So there's 4 different color personalities. Green is somebody who just like needs all the information. They are like, I want to read all the ingredients. I want to read it. I want to study it. Like I need to know
Green
every bit of information.
Green needs to see every step of the ladder
Yeah.
before they ever touch the first row.
Yeah.
I
Reds
love
are
that you use
usually
that. Yes.
Yeah, reds are usually money driven, very, hardcore kind of
Yep.
people. And then yellows are 70% of the world, which is me. I'm like a care bear. We are loyal. We're all about community and love and sharing and whatever. And then you've got
The
the
blues have a
blues, which are
massive community.
partiers. They want to be where the fun is at. They don't like to do boring tasks. So anyway, I just wanted to break that down for anybody who's like, what the
So
heck?
with you being green and doing this, you going head first into it is something that you would not have
Would
done.
never. Yeah.
What really was the piece or the motivator there that made you do that?
A dream from July in 2018. I
Wow.
had woken up from this dream, and it was these two people, my best friend Crystal, again, so prominent in my life, because she had to bring me here. This dream told me she was going to bring me here.
Wow.
So I had this dream, and we're driving in this brand new car, and she's driving me. We are going down this long, winding road, and we get to this gate, and there are two people standing at the gate. It's a blonde and a man with brown hair and beard. And I'm like, I don't know who these people are.
Okay.
And Crystal gets out of the car, like, just enough to say hi. And I get out, and she's looking at me like, it's okay, you can go. And I was like, I don't know these people. And she's like, just go. I walked towards the couple. This They open this gate up for me, and the gate opens up, and there's just a bunch of stairs. So I go running up these stairs and into this mansion. It's just this huge mansion, and it's empty
Huh.
inside.
Wow.
Empty, completely empty. So I venture in, and I find my way to an office, and the only thing in there is a Christmas tree. And I'm like, what kind of dream is this? So that's where I
Yeah,
woke
what's going
up.
What is
on?
happening?
It is July. So I messaged Crystal because she's the one who took me there in the dream. And I'm like, well, I had this dream. There's this lady and her boyfriend, maybe. I don't know. And so it took a few months for me to actually find them on the internet through her sharing their weekly videos that they were doing. And I screenshot, I was like, these are the people in my dream. And she was like,
Wow.
oh, okay. So I guess my brain had picked them up from maybe one of her sharing while I was scrolling.
Yeah.
This random July in 2018.
Wow.
So she messaged me after my dad had passed away. It was about November. And I was getting ready to go to Pittsburgh to handle his estate with my best friend. And all I knew was she messaged me and says, those two people from your dream are starting their own company. And I was like, wait, what? I'm in. Whatever it is, I'm in. She's
I mean,
like, we'll probably be selling like CBD. And I was like, oh, okay, whatever. I'm gonna go do it anyway. Like, obviously I'm supposed to do whatever it is that's happening here. And so she just would come by to see me every so often, you know, to bring me like maybe a new product or some clothes or something, and like a journal, just because she loved me and she wanted to make sure I was okay during this grieving process. But every time she would see me, I was just worse and worse and worse. So obviously I was at Ariel for something, but I was just not sure what was going on in my life. And then I was like, I need to go get my medical marijuana card. I have to do this because you can be a patient in Florida.
Same in Mississippi. I'm a patient.
Right. And I mean, at that point, I was basically putting my life at risk doing something so stupid, just medicating, self-medicating. So I was like, this is not worth it. I have got to get myself together and like just go do the adult thing. My dad would want me to do this. So I went to the doctor and I was like, listen, I got to get this card. I have to do this. And I know that it's not enough for me. And I told him that in my Amazon cart, I had GABA and I had ashwagandha and I had a capsule maker and I had capsules and I was ready to just, I was going to figure it out. I was going to make my own. And I was like, okay, I'm doing both. And he said, why GABA? And I was like, oh, I've had good experience with it before because it's just really good for you. And I knew where I was in life. I did not want to be anymore, but I just slow changes. So I left out of there and Ariel does this live. They're like a random live on a random day. And they're like, we have a new product announcement. And I'm like, what is this? It's GABA and ashwagandha. And I was like, what just happened right now? And I canceled my Amazon cart. I was like, I don't need that. I'm buying this. And that was the most life-changing decision I had made for my healing journey. Because obviously losing a child was devastating. And that was in 2015. So I had done so much healing from 2015 to 2020 when my dad passed away. I had built, I mean, we had moved, we had to rebuild life. I had taken my kids out of school. We had just completely redone everything about the way we lived. And then when that happened, my whole world just shattered and I could not even take care of myself. I was not a good wife. I was not a good mom. I was just not.
So you started to take this supplement and like, did it like just change you like right away? Like what happened right after that?
First, I took it when I got it, which was like in the afternoon because my mail comes in the afternoon. I was like, I'm not waiting. So I took one and I really didn't feel too different. I felt like maybe okay. Like I just felt like okay. Like I was not great.
Which is normal. I mean, typically a supplement doesn't work.
I wasn't sure what to expect anyway. So I was just like, I just knew I needed to try it. And the next day I woke up and I took one. The fact that I woke up and rolled out of bed to go take a supplement was so big. I took the second supplement and I messaged Crystal, my upline. I was like, what is this? What is this stuff? Because I have not felt this good since high school. I don't know what the heck just happened, but I am awake. I was sleeping so much.
Mm.
Mm,
I mean,
Mm.
not just from when my dad died, but like from when
yeah.
my daughter died in 2015. I had sat there and calculated, I think I had over 2,000 hours of napping. Like I was
Wow.
sleeping as much as humanly
Mm,
possible.
Mm.
And like while my kids were sleeping, I was sleeping. I was not all there. Like I wasn't able to be all I wanted to be. I did the best I could. And for a
yeah.
long
Mhm.
time, that was good enough. It was
Yeah,
so
you
good
were just
enough.
in survival mode.
Right. And my kids did great. I mean, I had my son doing college stuff. Like, I mean, he was 13 years old going to the local college with the high schoolers, like doing
Nice.
just
Nice.
as good as the 12th graders. So, like, I've always kept up on my children, making sure they were taken care of, but myself,
Yeah.
absolutely backburnered
That's
Mhm.
completely.
almost always what you
Yeah.
put on the back burner is yourself, regardless. If you have to, especially in panic modes or depressive modes, things like that, that's the only thing that you're going to take care of is everyone externally and not yourself. You had
It was,
spoken just a little bit about your daughter. Is
yes,
that something in which you're willing to share? Because that sounds like it's a little bit of the start of the downward and rebuild.
absolutely. So I
Okay.
was 28 years old, and that was my third baby. Um, we had It was the only child that I actually got to stay home with all the time. Like, so her entering this world completely changed the trajectory of our family because when I was 8 weeks pregnant, I was slammed into by a semi truck. My
Oh
Ooh.
son was in
my.
the back seat, and when you're pregnant, there's really limited things that a doctor or anybody can do for you. They're not scanning you like they would if you were not
Yeah.
Right.
pregnant.
Yeah.
So for a long time, I didn't know what was going on with me. I just knew the symptoms I was feeling inside. My son had issues lingering from this. We didn't know what was going on with my daughter inside of me. Her anatomy scan, nobody said anything strange
Mm.
to me about her conditions. She was born. I immediately questioned the nurses. I was like, she's got an extra breath. I've got two other children. She's got an extra
Yeah.
breath, something ain't right here.
Huh.
They
Mm.
brushed me off so bad and told me it was normal. She's going to level out. I was like, yeah, can we just maybe ask the doctor?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They did not. The doctor came to see her, did not catch anything odd with her. Her heart rate, her oxygen rate, if it's 96% or below in the state of Florida, or maybe it's 95, they will do extra testing. She was just 1% above that. They did no
Mm.
extra testing on her. So I
Mm.
was on to something, but
Yeah.
nobody would hear me because I'm just this 28-year-old, know nothing. They're all
Yeah.
Yeah.
doctors. So every appointment to pediatricians that I was at with her, like bringing up
Nobody believed you.
concerns, nobody would
Mm.
hear me. I didn't know enough to like go get second opinions or
Yeah.
maybe ask around. So it took a good 13 months to diagnose her properly.
Mm.
And she was already in heart failure at that point. Her
Mm.
heart was never fused. So that day that I
Mm.
got hit by the semi truck, her your heart fuses together at this certain point in your pregnancy. All four of your ventricles, your walls, they just move together and it forms the whole thing. Well, hers did not do that. It was
Mm.
stunted.
Mm.
So she had an endocardial cushion disease, is what the issue was. And like I
Okay.
learned so much. I did so much research. I swear I did more than the lawyers did.
Mm.
And I'll never forget this. I did
Mm.
so much after, like she was healthy in their eyes, I guess, because they didn't see what I was seeing, even though I was trying to explain what I was having to deal with.
Yeah.
And she was only like 16 pounds. She was not gaining weight.
Mm.
Nobody was so concerned. It was the weirdest thing I've ever had happen because I have two older children, one that
Yeah.
has a medical condition. So it was very weird to be so dismissed. And when we finally were able to get her the help that she needed, she was in congestive heart failure. And the cardiologist was like, it's not as bad as it sounds. It's not that serious. So I'm like,
It's heart failure.
It's heart failure.
It's
That's what
heart
this is.
failure. So I'm on the phone with the surgeon's office every single day at this point. And I'm
Yeah.
like, can somebody tell me something? They were waiting for all of this FedEx paperwork to make it to them. So I'm watching my daughter just decline, decline, decline. We eventually just took her to the emergency room ourselves. And we're like, we can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They flew her to the surgeon. The
Mm.
surgeon patted me on the back, said, thank you so much for not listening to the doctor and getting her here. And
Yeah.
they saved her life. They
Mm.
saved her life. She got color back in her skin. She
Mm.
was looking so good. We had a long road ahead of us. That was the plan.
Right.
There was a
Right.
lot of plans in action for her. There was going to be therapists coming to our house. It was like this whole
Yeah.
shabacle. It was going to happen. We were prepared. And I'll never forget this. We were leaving the hospital and I asked them, like, well, she's so far behind on her, you know what, that
Oh,
babies
yes. The pokey
get.
poke.
Oh, yes.
So,
And they had brought it up because she was never able to receive them because she was always sick. So she got like one round of them and then that was that.
Mhm.
So I was an ignorant mom thinking that that was necessary for whatever reason because my other
Mhm.
children had them on time.
Right.
And they told me at the hospital, well, the pediatrician will handle that. They'll get you all caught up. So I said, okay. And I left with her. We got home. We had like family come up. I got to see her. Well, not everybody, but as many people as could. And we went to the pediatrician on like 16 days after an open heart surgery. And we were waiting to see the cardiologist. They couldn't see her yet. And so the pediatrician decides that moment was such a great time to get her caught up and like convinced me that it would be so terrible if she didn't have these things. And I was not aware of like super risks such as
Mhm.
being unalived.
Yeah.
And 10 days later, 9 days later, we were back at the hospital because I knew something was wrong. Like, I'm a mom. I know my
Yeah.
Right.
child. Like,
Yeah.
I know it. And we had to have her flighted to the hospital again. And they could not figure out what was wrong with her.
Mm.
I mean, all sorts of specialists in there.
Mm.
Nobody could figure out what was going on with her. I didn't think anything of that pediatrician
Right.
visit
Yeah.
at all.
No, I wouldn't
Um,
either.
so we just they had to put her on life support into a induced coma, and it
Mm.
was like everything that they had just done was completely undone, and they could not figure out what caused it because they were scanning everything and everything was looking better than the days that we had
Mm.
left.
Yeah.
So they were like, this doesn't make sense. We had, I mean, every doctor you can think of trying to help us
Yeah.
understand, and that her condition was just not getting better, and she declined 15 days. Let's see, I don't even know, 10 days after that. I think it was 10 days exactly after she got placed into the coma and she passed away. So it was like really quick and shocking.
Did they
And
ever did they ever find out what actually was the cause, the case, or what happened?
Hmm.
wouldn't you think, right? They could tell you how a mummy passed away a long time ago. Well,
Yeah.
I'll
Right.
never forget that the doctor that was on call that had not seen my daughter before the last time she was there, he did tell me if I had not gotten her to the hospital at the time that I did, that we would have woken up in the morning and she would not have. And I said, like, Sid? And he said, yeah. And I was
Mm.
like, oh,
Huh.
okay. So I was thinking, all right, well, we got her here. Like, they're gonna save her. They're gonna save her. And I mean, I was fully convinced they were gonna save her up until there was the last moment. There was no hope.
Mm.
And leaving out of there, it was just a nightmare. I don't wish on even my worst enemy. Like
Yeah.
the things that we went through, and you think they would have an answer, but her death certificate says natural causes, multi-organ failure, and it lists the order of which her organs failed, and that was the reason. Like that's,
Dang.
and the surgeon was like, this wasn't our doing. Like it wasn't, this is you, it was a lot. And because she was such a special case, normally they catch these at birth.
Okay.
So they should have really caught this the day she was born. And I was like, she's not breathing right. However, I've had to deal with the fact that, I'm not God and I didn't make the rules here. And I was blessed to have the time with her that I did,
Mhm.
because the only thing that kept her alive that entire 15 months that she was here was the fact that there is a part of our hearts that close when we're born, and hers never closed.
Hmm.
And because it never closed, it was able to keep things flowing, or else she would have passed away way sooner if that
Wow.
closed like it was supposed to. So I had to like really go through it from that age onward. And it was a lot. Like, I mean, my faith turned around. I was an atheist. I
Yeah.
mean,
Mhm.
losing your child, most people get like, they go the
I,
opposite way,
I would
Oh, I mean,
definitely have
marriages
some questions.
depends on where you start. If
Yeah.
you were a Christian, I'd be like, yeah, atheist now. I'd
Right.
take
Right,
my baby
right.
away,
And we were just, I mean, I was
Yeah.
slow dripped like little things about Christian life and like Jesus and love, and it was different than kind of like the God that I had pictured in my head. And one of my middle school friends actually saw Hannah in the hospital for her surgery and asked if we'd be okay with her sending a like somebody from her church to come out.
Yep.
And I was like, well, that's a little strange because we don't really believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know what? Like, I'll entertain it
Yeah.
because that was really kind of her to think of my daughter and to ask. And I'm glad I entertained it because the man came. He fought 3 hours of traffic to get to us. It was pouring down
Oh,
rain. And I was like, oh, okay,
that's
like
nice.
we'll
Yeah.
listen. And he was so not judgmental and he was really loving. And I was like, okay. So when my daughter passed away, I think I might be the only funeral in history that had a rabbi and a preacher, because I wanted to honor both sides of the family. I didn't know what to do. My daughter was obviously not old enough to choose
Yeah.
her own
Right.
path for
Yeah.
herself. And I was raised, my family is Jewish and my husband's was Catholic. So I'm like,
Okay.
I don't know what to do here. And I linked them together. And I mean, together they sang Amazing Grace and got everybody
Nice.
there. It was just like the most beautiful way to honor her and send her off. So, yeah, and I mean, handling that at 28 years old.
Yeah.
Oh,
That's where,
Yeah.
okay, that's
like,
where I was going to
Yeah.
ask next. So you've had a death of a child, then it's the death of your dad. You start with Ariel. Like, can you kind of walk us through your healing process in this time?
Yeah.
Like, what kind of things did you start doing to get yourself?
amen. So I started that pink calm cap.
Yeah.
And oh boy, everybody in my family done heard from me. It was like, it helped me to really see me for me. And then along came those Ys, those white capsules, and I was
Yeah.
able to see the forest for the trees. And I was like, holy, my whole
Yeah.
life, my whole life. It was just, I had taken such inward burden. And so, like, losing a child, losing my dad, like, you got to be strong. You got to keep going. You got to keep
Yeah.
Mhm.
going. And I don't know. It just allowed me to really see I'm a person that deserves to heal from things. And there were
Yes.
Yeah.
things that I didn't even realize that I needed to heal from that would just surface. And I started doing that, like, inner, I guess they call it shadow work, but it was
Yep.
just
Yes.
really
Yes.
acknowledging, like, I've got some stuff that I do that may not necessarily be the right way to handle those things. Like, I
You,
had a short fuse.
I was going to ask
Um,
if you can say just a nutshell about what shadow work is for somebody who
Yeah.
maybe is like, the heck is that?
okay, so it's the parts of you that you don't want to face. It's going inward to those points of your life, those moments where maybe you made a choice that it wasn't the greatest, so you kind of stuffed it away in the shadows, and like
Mm.
you don't surface those feelings, or it was something that happened to you that you were so hurt by that you stuffed it away into the shadows and you never worked through it, you never dealt with it, you never healed from it.
Yeah.
And there it just sits, and there it sits and festers, and it can become all sorts of things that way. It can become anger, it can become pain, it can
Yeah.
Yes.
become resentment, it can become
Shame.
lashing out at people that, where they say don't bleed on people that didn't cut you. Like,
Yep.
it becomes that because you didn't face those parts of you that really just need you to confront
So how
them.
did you find shadow work? Did you do therapy or anything, or did you just stumble on it?
Everything was self-therapy. I've just
Okay.
done this myself the whole time. I'm so
Okay.
stubborn, but I don't know if that's like my dad and me, because my mom took me to the doctor for everything growing up. I was such a sickly little kid, like
Mhm.
probably because I went to the doctor for everything. But she
Well,
didn't know better, you know? So like I was
yeah.
just a sickly little kid, and my dad, they divorced when I was 2, so my
Mhm.
dad was a drifter. I didn't really see him all too often.
Okay.
Man, I have a lot of his qualities, and
Mhm.
oh, like that's definitely got to be one of them, because he certainly did not go to the doctor. We can clearly see this.
I
So
I will say
yeah,
this as a dad with ADHD to a daughter who very likely has ADHD, that connection is interesting because maybe it was the same with your father and you. It seems that we can speak a language, my daughter and I, that no one else can
Yeah, I don't
understand.
understand their little
Like we
language
can just
together.
go back and forth, and sometimes it's not even words. But so to understand that a little bit, maybe that's the type of connection you had with your own father. And that's how the
yeah,
difficulty was so hard because it wasn't just losing a father, if I'm understanding this correctly, it was losing an interpreter, somebody who could
Like
understand
got
you
you.
like no one else.
yeah, for sure. Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. Nobody else did. Like I was definitely the tie-dye sheep, the tie-dye sheep's daughter, I should say, because he was not fitting in with his family. So his family didn't understand him. And then he met my mom, and they just, I think they were just together to make me. That's really how I think about it.
That's
Sometimes
okay.
that's
Sometimes that's all you need. Thanks,
and
universe.
Yeah,
we have the amazing teeny tiny Tasha in front of us because of that.
Yeah,
So I love that.
exactly. Right. So, like, I mean, he was always like there, but he wasn't there. And I always longed for that connection with my dad because he wasn't around. So it was easier for me to cry, like, I want my dad, because he wasn't
Yeah.
wasn't coming.
yeah,
He was an airplane ride away. Like my poor mama, I put her through hell. But it
that's
is
okay.
true. We had that connection that like it's just words didn't need. So he would call me, I mean, 3 times a day, 4 times a day, like how's it going, how are the kids, and he would always hang up the phone and say be good, and I'm like, all right, I am, I will, okay. But like he
So
would say be good.
I don't I you know I'm a big believer in therapy, but I'm
Yes.
also a believer in just healing in general. So like applaud you for doing it at all, because that's the hardest part, is to go
Yes.
inward to the parts that are the deepest, darkest, that we just keep trying to bury.
Yeah.
I
So
I
I
mean, I
thought
would
of it
listen
like
to his favorite band. I would play them on like the on my YouTube, and I would just lay on the floor and just cry my eyes out and just like let myself feel all of that. And when my
yes.
daughter passed away,
Yes.
I hid it away so well, but I would just always let myself feel. And people would say like, maybe you should go to therapy, maybe you should go get on some medication. And
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
just like, no, you guys, like I'm not trying to completely numb everything. Like I just
Yeah.
feel
yes.
it as it goes, and I just
And
let
that's
it
human.
roll through.
Yeah,
Yeah.
And so that's what I've pretty much done.
the whole human experience is not exclusive of pain. The pain
Yeah.
has to exist for us to feel anything really.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
way
Yeah.
that you're doing it, getting into that inner shadow work, like I thought of it myself when I was doing it. I had to look at the parts of myself where I was the villain, where
Mm-hmm.
I did the shit,
Mm-hmm.
and then figure out why. Work back from
Yeah.
there. I really like that you did the same thing in working on that. I'm a big proponent of I am an expert in my body and
Mm-hmm.
my
Yeah.
mind.
Yeah.
So I agree with you in points. I think I would mirror her. Therapy is always beneficial. I
Mhm.
love it. Even the weird therapists we've
We've
had
had some weird
have
ones.
given me some nice things. But a person digging into themselves and truly being truthful with
Yeah.
themselves,
And allowing yourself to really like feel the emotions, because growing up, I was kind of, my emotions were stuffed. Like,
yes.
you don't cry, get over it, that kind of thing. And I'm sure you're the same way. So the problem with that, guys, is we stuff that, and our body is holding on to that. Like,
Mhm.
your body will feel it in so many different ways. It will show up, like you said, anger, depression, anxiety. Like, you may stay overweight because your body is literally storing stress and pain and trauma. So,
Yes.
like, as painful and uncomfortable as this healing process is, it's crucial to get to the next level of life. Like,
It's ugly.
yeah,
It
it's
is.
super ugly. It's the
So
ugliest part of
ugly.
This
I
human
mean,
experience.
but
But it's
it was necessary. It was
Yeah.
so good because now I can tell people like, listen, I know what you're feeling sucks, but just
Yes.
let
yes,
it roll through. Just give it some
That's
time. Like
that's powerful
I
right
have
there.
I have PTSD, so I understand when it's uncontrollable. I
Yes.
totally do. It
Yeah.
used to be a lot more severe, though. I will say
Yeah.
that because I've done so much, and the supplements that I do take are geared towards helping me
yeah,
Mhm.
rebuild the cells and the neurons. And, epigenetics is a real thing. So
yes,
you
Yeah.
really like you can't undo. You can never really undo, but you
No.
can go forward with better outlook and,
Yeah.
more optimism and like, yeah, I had some shitty
And
things happen.
like and just like the confidence of knowing like I survived something really, really hard. So
yeah,
like I got through that.
yeah,
Like what can I
Yeah,
get through now? You know?
really. And like what else, like I mean, then when it comes to we do Bible studies on Mondays with
Yep.
Ariel girls and my team, and we were going over a verse that says, like, when you go through your trials and your tribulations, like, still give your praise, still give your
Mhm.
worship, like, it's going to happen, but you
Yep.
have, like, there's another, there's hope on the other end. You're not
yes,
always going to stay in the valley. You will get to the mountaintops. Like,
Yep.
it's going to happen. It's how you deal with it. And
Yeah.
if your toolbox is sorely lacking in tools to handle those emotions, this is where I was for a very vast majority of my life. And my dad would say things to me because he would hear me yelling at my children, like, they're
yeah.
just being kids, let them be. They're going to end up talking like you one day.
Mm.
I'm like, no, they're not. Yes, they do. I
Yeah,
hear
they
them.
are.
They definitely
Someday
do.
So
they do. Um,
you talked
and
about the
so,
tools that you have that you've
huh?
worked on. You've talked about the tools that you have, or that you had an empty toolbox. But now
Mhm.
I assume that toolbox has some tools in there. If you could give one major tool, one takeaway that somebody listening could have and be like, okay, I've got that in my toolbox now. What would that be if it were outside of the supplements? Because I know the supplements help,
I know we
but
love the supplements, but
yes,
outside of the supplement.
Oh, okay. One major piece of the start of my healing journey, and the thing that probably broke me down the most, was take some time. It's like a little meditation to yourself. And you're going to go back in your mind to you're going to start with the first memory that you remember where you were wronged or you were hurt or that first trauma came about. You might have been very, very little. You might have been old. You don't know. Wherever it was, that first one that pops in your mind after you're sitting there thinking about it. And you're going to go to yourself in your mind, your littler self, your past self, and you are going to
Oh, yeah.
give
yes,
yourself a hug. And you're
Yes.
going to tell yourself it's okay. It's
Mm.
not your fault. I'm here with you. And you're going to talk yourself through that moment, your little self. And that really
yes,
just
Kyle has his baby
opened
I do.
picture right here. My baby picture's
so
on my
much.
mirror.
Yep, you have to.
Yep. Talking to your
And
talk
I
to
mean, I'll be vulnerable and tell you my very first traumatic memory, my very first moment. I was 2. My parents were getting like, they were at the end of their marriage. They were fighting all the time.
Hmm.
And I would just hide. I would like
Mhm.
go and like we had a stairs like Harry Potter under the
Oh,
under the stairwell. There's like closet.
yeah.
So in my little traumatic memory, I'm like in the little closet, just sitting there like waiting for the storm to pass, basically.
Mm.
And I
Mhm.
did that frequently, and I think that is like where my dermatillomania came into play. I was really little, and I used to get told like stop picking
Okay.
yourself, and
What? A
I don't know
derma
that
what?
one.
oh, okay. So
Is
this
that
is
face picking?
where yeah, you're skin picking. So I
Okay.
like
Okay.
pick everything, like
Ah.
from such a small child. So I'm thinking this is probably like what I did to occupy myself when I was
To
sitting there
cope.
like
Yeah.
waiting
Yes.
for that to pass because I was
Yeah.
so little. What could I
Huh.
do?
It's also an
Um,
ADHD trait.
Mm.
yeah, it is.
Yeah.
My
Mhm.
dad, I caught him doing it when he was sitting at my house. He came to visit, and which I'm so glad he did. He got to see my new house. He got to like
Good.
experience my kids as a little bit older because, like I said, he lives
Mhm.
states away. So that
Hmm.
was the last time I really saw him. And it was so funny because I hugged him at the airport saying goodbye and I cried the entire way home because I just felt like it was the last time I was going to see
Mm.
him.
Yeah.
And which is so silly, but it really
It's not
was the
silly.
last time I
You had a
saw him.
feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had a feeling.
Okay.
And yeah,
Well, I not to interrupt you, but I
no,
just wanted
go,
to,
go.
we're kind of getting to the point of wrapping this up,
Yes.
Tasha, but I want to know, is there anything that we didn't cover in your story that you're like, ah, I wish we could have said this? Do you off the cuff
Um,
of your head?
I mean, I will say, like, I wish I had done some healing earlier on, so that way, like, I didn't repeat patterns
Yeah.
and behaviors and just have new patterns and behaviors to introduce
Yeah.
to my family that I did not grow up
Yeah.
with. I don't know where some of my anger issues came from, type of dealing.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, like, I wish I'd done that a lot earlier in life. So I do say, like,
I
definitely just if you've had something happen and you're like, I don't know, I don't want to face it, I keep numbing it, I keep stuffing it inside, like, maybe this is your sign that we're
Mm.
not going to start stuffing things down anymore, that we're
Yes.
actually going to just roll through it. And there are, things that you can do to make that process less painful on yourself. And I feel like that's where the supplements came into the picture, is it was less painful to relive
Mm.
some of those memories in my
yes.
mind.
Hmm.
I stopped having like hyperventilating, fall to the floor type of moments where I'm just like not in this world anymore. I'm back
Yeah.
in
Yeah.
time. So
Yeah.
like there was quite a few times where that would happen, and it was, a lot less controllable, and dealing with it and just feeling through it and knowing, like, okay, this happened. I cannot do anything about it anymore. All I can do
Yeah.
is just like go
Let it go.
forward. Like,
Yeah.
and that is one of the hardest things too, is if you can't get, like, there's no closure coming. Like,
Yeah.
nobody's gonna apologize to you. Like with my
Yeah.
daughter, the doctor that ordered those pokey pokes, he
Yep.
Yep.
came to her memorial.
Mm.
I don't truly think that he knew that that was gonna do that. I
Right.
Right.
don't,
Right.
so like I've had, like, I've gotten so angry, and then like I have done an interview with an organization to speak out against that, to say,
Yeah.
like, the doctor totally went against American medical, like the pediatrics,
Right.
their advice,
Yeah. Yeah.
totally disregarded it. And I tried to, like, medical malpractice,
Mm.
had to be like, they missed everything.
Yeah.
And then to
So
be
to your
told,
point, you're not going to get an apology from them,
no,
Yeah,
really.
to your
I
point,
was
you're not getting an
told
apology.
there's no lawsuit, there's no case. And I was like, are you kidding me? Like, nothing for my daughter. She went through all of that and there's no justice for her whatsoever.
Yeah, and having no apology like this or no closure
Oh,
could keep someone stuck for the rest of their lives.
Yes.
I mean, just waiting for this thing. So you
So
had to come to your own point of like, it's okay if I don't get an apology. Like,
yeah.
yeah.
I just got to push through it because this ain't gonna hold me
I
down the rest of my
Yeah,
life.
and again, like, and I bring that kind of back to where I, like, hid in the shadows and I hid in the background, and I just didn't want to be noticed because I didn't feel worthy. I
Yeah.
didn't feel
Yes.
like I deserved any attention. I mean, I feel like I don't deserve anything good at all in life some days. Like,
Mhm.
and I put so much blame on myself, and there's just days that come through that. And again, I just feel them. I deal with it. I have to affirm to myself that this is
Yeah.
not true.
I actually
Like,
really like that you still said you have some days
Yes.
because this is the thing. The healing journey is never going to be ending, you guys. And there are going to be good days and bad days where Tasha's going to feel amazing one day. And then the
Yep.
next day, something might trigger her. And like, that's normal, but it's all part of the
perfectly normal.
process. Yeah. So I actually kind of like that you said that because
Yeah.
I don't think there's like this one day you're going to wake up and everything's going to be great and you're never going to think about your pain again. Like, that's not true.
And I
Things get
really
a little less painful as we go on, but they don't completely go away.
yeah.
Oh,
I
and I mean,
really
sometimes it comes in
Right?
and it's like, it's as fresh as the first day. It'll come through cutting
Yeah.
like the first day. And it's like, wow, that came out of nowhere. But obviously, your nervous system didn't come out of nowhere. Your
Yeah.
nervous
yeah.
system is telling you, like, you have to face this because I'm
Yes.
holding on to it somewhere and it's
Yeah.
affecting you in another way. So, like, it's hitting you now, face it head on. If we
Yeah.
just keep ignoring it and keep suppressing it, it's where we come up with all these other things. And
Yep.
it wasn't
Yeah.
working for me anymore. I was in so much discomfort. I cannot tell you. I was in an accident. I told you I had to have
Yeah.
neck surgery. I had to have back surgery. I was not fixed after those two. So
Yeah.
I still dealt with chronic issues, which was what led me to the MMJ office in the first place. Like
Yeah.
I knew for a fact it helps. I know for a fact it helps. But the pink capsule has that magical three letters in it that I'm not going to say, but that those C and that part of the plant, it built up in my system after about 6 months. My husband looked at me and he said, Tasha, you know, you're not complaining anymore. And I was like, wait, what?
Wait
And
a
he
minute.
was like, you're not complaining about your back anymore. You're not complaining about your neck, your legs. And I'm like, huh. I
Huh.
didn't realize I was complaining so much because it was just second nature to come out of my
Normal.
mouth that every
I
day
feel
he
that.
would come home and there
Yeah.
would be something wrong with me, he said.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, about 6 months had gone by and he was just noticing there was a huge difference in me. So for me to feel it inside and then for him to be able to see that, like I didn't even really correlate that.
Yeah.
I just didn't.
Yeah.
It was becoming the way I felt because every morning I was in this new routine. My kids were like, "Who is this lady? Who is this new mom?" Like, I don't know what's going on. I wasn't yelling anymore. I had
Yep.
no short fuse. My fuse was so long it never went off. Like it was just I was okay. I had 1 day a month where I was god awful and evil, and I was like, why is this still happening 1 day a month? And then I learned about hormones, and
Yeah.
Yeah.
so I started the shake that we had, and all of a sudden I stopped yelling that 1 day a month, and I was like, wow, like I'm the problem. It's me.
Yeah.
And
And
that, to
it
your
was
point there, I'm the problem.
yeah,
It's me. Like you said, the first thing you have to do,
Recognize.
recognize it, and then start.
Mm-hmm.
However you know
right.
how to, however you can, go towards
Look in
that.
the mirror.
Yeah. Look in the
Yes,
miror.
that's a great way to look at it.
All right, everybody take a deep breath.
Ah,
Tasha, thank you so much for sharing this story with us. And we're really proud of you because I mean, like I
yes,
said, I've watched you too for the last few years and I've watched you blossom. And especially in the last year, I noticed you getting a little bit louder and a little bit more yourself. So just keep healing, just keep pushing through the pain and just keep being as loud, as proud as you are, as
yes.
teeny and tiny as you are. You have so much spark in you.
Will
So
you say this for the listeners? Because only people that will see it will see this. Officially, how tall are you?
4'10.5"
okay. And she's little.
I used to be 4'11", but I developed a limp and somehow lost some inches after the surgery. So
It
I'm a
took a
half inch
toe.
shorter now.
That's hilarious. Are you and Daryl in about the same size?
She is just a little bit taller than me.
Okay. That's hilarious. So Daryl's
I
pretty small.
love it. But to that point, 4'11", and she is a power
Powerhouse.
when she comes in.
Yeah, so she actually gave me the courage to kind of like look at myself. I walked into my first convention and saw her, and she was in a pink dress. I was in a blue dress, and I was like, oh, we're Ariel colors. And when I saw her like in person at the first time, and I was like, we're the same height. Like, you've got to be kidding me. She is so like powerhouse.
Sorry, someone's at my
That's very
door. Hold
cool.
on.
We don't have any understanding why.
I
can't.
hate when that happens. That's when I go running and hiding.
I don't know.
Right there. It's on the agenda this week. We were just on a cruise. We've been like this stuff. Okay. I will use it today and I'll get it. I promise. All right. Because I wanted out of here too. Okay, thank you. That's weird.
What the hell is that?
IRS just came to our door.
Fuck.
Mississippi state tax. Literally at my door, demanding that I pay $147.
Jesus.
What?
All right, cool. So
Okay, sorry. That was really random. Okay, let's wrap this up. All right.
Okay.
So, all
Yay.
right. Well, Tasha, thank you so much for being on. I would give you final words, but you wrapped this up already
Yeah.
so well. You gave everybody some really good tips about healing your inner child, and I think that is really the first place to start.
I think so too.
So
Yeah,
Tasha,
this is
we
why
love
I'm always
you.
at Disney. You'll catch me at Disney all the time
I love
because
that.
that is like
Healing your inner child.
my healing my inner child. Yeah, I get all my
Absolutely.
worst and best news at Disney. I swear to God, I don't know
I
why,
love
because I'm always there. So yeah,
I
catch
love
me
that.
there. And if you ever wonder why, it's because I am just healing my inner child. Leave me alone. Because that's my thing.
I love
Like
that.
I'm growing my Disney TikTok account, and wow, my only video to go like almost viral was so much hate for the Disney adults. And I'm like, I love it. You guys are
Whatever.
miserable.
To each their own. Let them.
Let them.
Right,
All right.
right. I mean, you don't have to like it yourself, but don't make fun of people that do.
Exactly. Go live your life.
Okay.
Right.
So the way we usually wrap this up is I'll go a 3, 2, 1, and then we each will say bye, buddies. Jeez, my brain
He's
stopped.
like looking at me. I'm like, what? So we're all gonna say bye, buddies. You can say it with us. You can say it right after us if you want to. So we'll just end it like that. Okay.
All right.
All right.
2. Bye, buddies.
Bye,
I
buddies.
didn't say one.
You didn't say one. I was
You
like,
do it.
wait.
Fucked it all
Wait.
up. I did it before.
We'll tag it.
Actually, let me put one more thing in here before we end. Okay. I know this is a little odd.
Okay.
If you want to follow Tasha, I'm going to have her Instagram, her TikTok, her Facebook, whatever she wants to give us. I will have all her socials in the show notes. Make sure to follow us on all our socials. Make sure to subscribe. Make sure to share it. Leave us a 5-star review if you will. All the things, okay? All right. 3, 2, 1. Bye,
Bye,
buddies.
Bye, buddies.
Good Lord.
Jeez. Okay.